Colonel Kurt Hansen is the leader of the Barghest faction, operating in Dogtown. While his first reference was in the base game of 2077, mentioned in a shard and described as a general leading a group of people in the combat zone, the player base didn't actually get to see him or his militia until the Phantom Liberty expansion. He was formerly a NUSA soldier, an extremely impressive one at that, whose strategic decisions allowed him to take control of a portion of the Pacifica district during the Unification War and maintain it afterward. He's a formidable rival for the Merc Legend V, but today I will be showing you how to create an insane build inspired by Hansen and our time in Dogtown. This build is going to be extremely powerful and have variety in gameplay that any choom can enjoy. Unfortunately though, to help you complete this build, there will be some spoilers ahead. Don't worry just yet. I'm going to have everything timestamped down below so you can skip over spoilers and take a look at how the build looks in combat. That way, you have the chance to come back after completing the expansion to use this build. With ample warning, let's get into this build. So level quickly with me. Are you here because you want a cool build? Maybe think Kurt Hansen is some sort of badass? Or is it because you played the missable Kurt Hansen mission and need that feeling in your normal gameplay? That's right, for those of us who missed it, there's an easy to miss questline that lets you hallucinate missions as Kurt Hansen, allowing you to get the feel for all three of his weapons and his combat style. Just like how Silverhand's flashbacks get you hooked on the Malorian, this short questline gets you hooked on his Bald Eagle revolver and Fang throwing knife. Unfortunately, you don't actually have a 100% chance to get these weapons. It's completely dependent on the ending you get to Phantom Liberty. In the Firestarter quest, you'll reach the most important decision in the expansion: escape with Songbird or side with Reed and attempt to capture her. We all know what the actual good decision is, but for the build, it will be much easier to go with Reed. The reason being, if you escape with Songbird, Hansen is killed on the spot by Alex and you get zero access to his body. While if you side with Reed, you actually get the opportunity to have a boss battle against Hansen, killing him yourself and being able to loot his body for all three of his iconic weapons. Well, you don't actually have to kill him, but that's your choice. There's also the chance you can buy his weapons at a Dogtown iconic vendor. I am yet to test this out, so that might be an alternative for those of us violently against betraying Songbird. However, I've heard if you do this route, you cannot get his Fang throwing knife, which much of this build is built upon. Looting him gets you the Bald Eagle revolver, an extremely strong iconic that fires explosive rounds. It will also combo with his throwing knife to shred enemies' legs, though you'll find this combo usually isn't necessary. The Fang throwing knife will cripple targets when it lands, but also increase in damage with continued attacks in close combat. And finally, you also get his Wild Dog LMG, a variant of the Defender that increases fire rate and crit chance with repeated hits. It will even deal massive melee damage when the ammo is empty, providing you a final spike of damage before having to swap. Obviously, for a Kurt Hansen build, you'll just be using the three of these weapons, which is likely the assumption of the developers in giving you three. And when you scan Kurt Hansen in the Black Sapphire Club, you'll also see that he uses flashbangs consistently in his kit. So I recommend getting the default or homing X22 flashbangs to get as lore accurate as we can. Moving on to the attribute location, this is going to be a cool, reflex, and technical focused build, with some spec in a body and none into intelligence. First, I'll cover the cool skill trees. Cool is going to be the most important aspect of this build, so if you're still leveling your character, I would say put the most focused here. It's where you'll be eventually getting all your revolver and knife play from. Firstly, moving up the left skill tree to get Nerves of Tungsten Steel and the Quick Draw and Long Shot perks. This tree is going to give you the Deadeye ability to increase your revolver accuracy and damage. Moving to the center, this definitely isn't a stealth build, so we just want to get what we need to access the Style over Substance perk. It still benefits the build though, as it will let you play a bit stealthier when you want and to move around cover easier. This build is going to have you spend a lot of time with your throwing knives, as Hansen is somewhat of a collector and prizes his collection, impressively using it in the boss fight at several points to temporarily cripple V. So we're going to do the same. Completely max out the throwing knife skill tree. This is overall going to improve your damage, movement, and of course, give us finishers to play with. all of which will mimic the cold-blooded and merciless nature of Hansen's attacks. Moving on to the technical skill trees, we are actually going to be upgrading our flashbangs for the sheer amusement of doing so. People said I was crazy once. This will also level up our health items, so it's worth it either way. Moving up the tree, picking up transfusion, demolition surplus, and flash sale along the way. I choose to stop there though. You could pick up some others or even the ticking time bomb perk. I choose not to get this though, as it's a bit unruly when you are using a Sandevistan and ruins any chance at stealth when doing so. And you'll probably see this with nearly every character build in 2.0, max out the Edge Runner skill tree, only leaving Lucky Day and Ambidextrous unacquired. The game is just so reliant on Cyberware now, especially since clothing no longer provides the bonuses it once did. Now in Reflexes, we are only going to focus on the center tree. Kurt Hansen is a very agile boss despite his size, being shown to leap around, dash, etc. Enlarge things likely to his Cyberware. Purchase everything, leaving only Power Slide, Parkour, Mean Streak, and Aerodynamic unacquired. This is another one of those trees I just feel necessary for the majority of builds, as it improves the previous stiffness of base 2077 movement. Moving on to the body skill trees, this will be our least utilized attribute besides intelligence. We aren't going to be using our LMG as a primary weapon, so we can just ignore the left skill tree, unless of course you would prefer to use an LMG over the revolver, which then you can just swap the skill trees or move a few things around to use even both. We are going to upgrade the center skill tree all the way we can, so we can get the Adrenaline Rush perk to maximize our health items in combat. And finally, we have the Relic skill tree. I've only put points into vulnerability, analytics, and machine learning. I just think the variety it adds to gameplay is a lot of fun, so you're not only ever aiming for the head. It makes sense for a knowledgeable character like Hansen, who does target legs, arms, etc., to have an outlook like this. If you plan on having some sort of cyberware though, of course spec over to that as well. Hansen actually has cyber arms and uses a Quake type ability in his boss fight, so you could even spec for gorilla arms if you felt like it. Now to the cyberware. Starting with the frontal cortex, I have self ice, then also have gorilla arms. This is just because of his cyber arms he has, so you can always swap them off on your personal build. Again though, I am aiming for some lore accuracy with these installments. For the skeletal system, I have a universal booster, Rara Avis, and dense Miro to increase my melee damage. If you scan Hansen during the Sapphire heist, it will show he has a Koreznikov, so of course we have one installed. It will also show he has heavy subdermal armor. I went pretty heavy into the integumentary system, using the proxy shield, nanoplating, and cellular adapter. He will also scan as having a charged jump, so I went with fortified ankles for the legs. For the circulatory system, I am using the blood pump, micro rotors, and heal on kill. In hands, we will only have one thing, and it's finally to utilize our LMG. Immovable force is going to give us 30% less recoil and 25% less bullet spread. For face, use the Oracle Optics, and for your operating system, we will be using the Militech Apogee Sandevistan. He scans as having a Sandy in the club, so we've gone with the best Sandy you can get. It also happens to be Militech produced, perfectly fitting for an NUSA soldier. And that, chooms, is how you become Kurt Hansen in Phantom Liberty. It's a relatively simple build to put together, especially since his weapons are laid out for you and he can be scanned in game. You'll probably notice I even put together a dollar store Hansen appearance in the background. It's a little goofy to see, but I used the Militech Ultralight, Aramid breastplate, B's favorite shirt, B's pants, and the heavy duty biker Exo jacks. So I hope you all enjoyed, and let me know your thoughts down below. Do you like the idea of playing as Hansen and plan on using this build, or will you continue your search to find what fits best for you? I initially didn't expect to like the build as much as I did, but I had a lot of fun using it while I'm recording footage. And let me know any builds you'd like to see next down in the comments. As always, thanks to all of the channel members up on screen. I appreciate every single one of you and hope that you're enjoying your time in Dogtown in 2.0. I had a lot of fun on our launch day stream and wish I had the time to stream the rest as well. Make sure to have a great week, and I will see you later, chooms.